Hi from Positive Pathways. I thought this evening, while I had a bit of quiet time, I'd just talk to you a little bit about my family's history with horses. Because I had somebody ask me, well, how do we know if our children come to you if they're going to be safe with the horses? And I said, well, don't worry about that. Not only do we give a safety debrief and a safety instruction to everybody before they start going into the arena to work with the horses, but we know our horses backwards. And the really important thing with equine assisted learning is that you find yourself a top facilitator who has knowledge not only in how to read horses' body language, but has had the experience and good knowledge in where they've been brought up or been around horses, where they have learnt to put the horses' welfare firstly, that was my first point. But secondly, to also make sure that what they are talking about, that they're actually spot on and understand what it is that their job as a facilitator really is. And that job is to actually parallel what is being seen in the arena with the horses and their body language, with the specific objectives that we have that we work with, and be able to parallel that for the participants back to real life, so that the understanding of what it is that is going on with the horse's body language and with the participant, with their learning, that they understand what it is that the horses are trying to let you know. So when you're looking around for an EAL or an equine assisted learning facilitator, please make sure that you find one that values the horse's welfare, that has had experience with horses beforehand for quite a long period of time, so you know that you are getting the best quality education or facilitation happening when you are in front of that person. And thirdly, it's got to come together. It's got to click. So if the facilitator is not going to, or doesn't do a very good job of paralleling what it is that you're learning and what the horses are teaching you and showing you and putting it back into a real life context, then they're not quite hitting the mark on the learning that should be taking place in the program. I just thought I'd share some of my family's things that are just sitting here quickly behind me. This here is my pride and joy. I have my dad's stock whip, and I have his stock horse bridle, all sitting here, lovingly looked after. That's called a Baku bridle for anyone who is an Australian and doesn't understand what a stock horse bridle actually is that goes on your horse. The one thing I really picked up and that I loved from my dad was that he was soft on horses. He never ever used a thin bit. This is a lovely thick bit that he's used on his big horse. Nice and thick for the horse's mouth, nice and soft in the horse's mouth. No thin wires or anything crazy like that from my family. Horses always first. The stock whip is here. This belonged to my father as well. We even have Dad's stock saddle sitting here, lovely at my place, being looked after. Just the day that it would have been, in the day that he rode in it. It was mustering cattle and helping Dad out is where I learned to ride. My other Pa, he was great too. He did a lot of work with me at the Pony Club grounds, where he actually taught me to trot, and I remember that distinctly because it was constantly up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And my poor grandfather must have had to do that for quite a number of hours on and off, but he eventually got it right with me. He was right. It was just getting me right with the rhythm. How blessed was I really to grow up in a family where I had two grandfathers and a dad who rode horses, and the three of them could ride damn well. They were incredible riders, but they looked after their horses. Their horses were work horses. They had to work the cattle. They had to work with either on the dairy farm or on the beef cattle farm. The dogs were part of the team, the horses were part of the team, and the other part of the team were the riders. and they all work together to be able to get what they needed to get done on the farm done. So when we're working with our horses in EAL, we also talk about working as a team. There's no point having one dog in your team that is running around splitting up the mob of cattle you're trying to get into a yard. You have to rely on each other, and you have to include each other to get things done. That's how these stockmen worked. They worked with their horses, they worked with each other, and they worked with their dogs. And everybody knew their role. And everybody worked together to get the job done really efficiently. That's just a little bit about my beginnings with background in riding. I'll tell you a little bit more later on about where I've gone from there. So my point tonight is, if you would like to participate in a program with equine assisted learning, our programs are specifically targeted to helping you learn life skills, and the horses step in as part of that. And the work that we do with the body language of the horse is to let you understand what the horse is saying so that you can parallel it, and we help you parallel it back to real life. The second thing with the EAL, it's paramount that the welfare of our horses is taken into number one consideration. If our horses aren't well, if our horses aren't up for it for the day, they are out. We don't work with them that day. It is not fair. The horses have all of their medications they need, the vaccinations they get. They have a professional farrier who comes in, and obviously you have your vet who comes and regularly checks them to make sure that they're okay. But it's just not that side of it. It's also, we make sure that the mental health of the horses that are working so hard for you and for us in the arena actually get a break, and they get to be grounded as well, because they actually take on a lot from people, because horses like to heal people as well, and they will take on a lot of energy. Did you know that a horse knows your heart rate approximately 75 meters away? So before you even go and touch that horse will already know how you feel. Whether your heart is racing because you're anxious, whether you feel quite calm and relaxed that day, or whether you're very businesslike and you just want to get the job done. This is where the horse body language is so strong, because they can actually lower your heart rate. If you come in a little bit tense, they can actually, by the end of the time that you would leave us, your heart rate would actually be coming down in tune with the horses, because they have the ability to actually lower a human's heart rate as well. That's just a little bit about equine assisted learning. I really want to go on in the next one to talk about what it is that equine assisted learning actually does. I've got a number of people have said, well, what do you do? Well, it's more than just what we do. It's what we challenge you with. It's what you problem solve. It's what you are prepared to get out of it. And it's how the horse, as part of your team, reacts instantaneously about the feelings that you are actually giving the horse. And they are far more clever than what you probably start giving them credit for. But I can tell you, by the time you finish, you'll totally understand where I'm coming from with what I've said. So if you'd like some more information, please contact us here at Positive Pathways. We have a Term 3 after school program running in Term 3 for tweens, which is approximately 9 to 12-year-olds, and teens, which is our 13 to 17-year-old group. Give us a buzz. Any questions, we're more than too happy to answer them. And come and join us for some fun. Lots of learning about our horses and how they interact with people. And you're going to learn a heck of a lot about yourselves as well. So come on, come and be brave. Bye.